to EHS Pilates in San Francisco. My name is Nancy Myers. This is Monique Convertito. Today we're going to be showing you the 2-minute feet releases. This is our foot kit. It comes with the 3 different balls, a rubber band, and a dowel. And those are available at ehspilates.com. The first one we're going to start with is the larger pinky ball. And we're going to take this underneath the ball of the foot and keep the heel down. Now don't grip the toes, but you're going to melt the toes over the top of the ball. Just allow the toes to stretch over the top of the ball. Noticing if the knuckles come up evenly, you can see if the alignment is correct or not here. Then we're going to soften the knee, and I'm going to have you hold on to your own knee here so that we don't want any movement happening above the knee. We're only working from the knee down. I'm going to take the foot into eversion. Only the forefoot is going into eversion. So that pinky ball is going to go underneath the pinky toe as the foot rotates inward. So that is called eversion of the foot. That's one of the necessary movements of the forefoot for proper gait mechanics. And where many people tend to be tight is through this spiral of the lower leg. So we're just going to encourage that foot to go into eversion, to stretch it. Then you're going to pick the heel up and roll the foot front to back, focusing on any spots that might need a little extra attention, either medial or lateral, front to back. Then we're going to stop right in front of the heel. So right where that ankle bone comes down into the foot, that subtalar, just in front of that malleoli is a subtalar joint. And I want you to step and release. So you're going to put as much weight as you're comfortable with into the ball to release that subtalar joint. That is the closest communication from your foot to your hip. So it's a good joint to have nice and mobile. And then step off. And of course you would repeat that on both sides. And stop in between just to notice the difference on the foot you just rolled compared to the foot you have not yet rolled. Then we move on to the smaller super ball. And this is going to go directly underneath your knuckle. So if you were looking at the foot, it would be going not directly under the knuckle, but behind it. And then we're going to be doing a cross fiber release. So what you see here are the plantar fascia of the foot and the tendons that lie beneath that. So we're going to be doing a cross fiber release on each one of these individual tendons underneath the metatarsal heads. So place this directly behind and under, and we're doing a cross fiber release, so we go back and forth. It might feel kind of like you're plucking a guitar string as you go back and forth 10 times, each individual digit back and forth. You can always spend extra time on 1 or 2. If there's tension, more tension in 1 or 2, you might have a hammer toe or a mallet toe, which might indicate that you have more tightness in that particular digit. So you want to do a release on that. Then we're going to move on to your purple spiky ball. Would you mind having a seat on the mat? It's easier to do seated if you're doing this at home on yourself, to place the ankle over the knee. And then you're going to roll, if you could just swing here so they can see you. So your ankle bone, you're going to take the purple spiky ball and roll that under and around that ankle bone. So this whole area of the foot is a neural pathway. You have 7,000 nerve endings in your feet that all innervate with your lumbar spine. And this is keeping that space nice and open, encouraging blood flow and oxygenation to this area is beneficial. And then we're also going to take that ball and roll it underneath the fat pad underneath the calcaneus. So again, that's your natural shock absorber, and as we get older, it tends to become dehydrated. It may not wear evenly, so rolling out any spots that you might have callousing to encourage that blood flow and to plump up that fat pad. Then you're going to go ahead and come back up to standing. The wooden dowel is like the roller for your foot. If you've ever rolled out your IT bands, now we're going to roll out the metatarsal heads. So this is going to go directly underneath those metatarsal heads. In particular, this first joint of the foot is called your first ray of the body. So that in particular, especially if you have something like a bunion, that you have some calcification in there, you have some callousing, that area in particular is what we're going to roll back and forth on. So place that directly underneath the ball of your foot. The heel is slightly lifted and you're just going to roll that back and forth. So particularly in that first joint where you have a little bit of restriction, you can hear it's kind of crunchy, but it shouldn't be too painful. It should feel good, but it sounds, you'll hear an audible sound a lot of times that it's the sesamoid bone. So you don't want to do anything too aggressive, but something that's going to at least really increase that range of motion in that first joint. And even just 10 times, you should notice a big difference in the range of motion in that first joint after using the wooden dowel. Then the rubber band is used specifically for alignment and fascial connection. So the rubber band can be placed around the toes. I'm going to start around the first 3 toes of each foot. And then we're going to do some standing footwork. So if you have an excessive external rotation of the foot, this helps to keep the parallel alignment that we're looking for. Put a little bit of weight on the inside of tires. So if you had 4 tires on each foot, your front tires are under your first and last metatarsal, your knuckles here. The back tires right where that ankle comes down into the foot. And we want you to be equally balanced through all 4 tires. You don't want to be too far on the outside tires, too far on the inside. Equally balanced. And when we start doing footwork, you want to think about staying balanced in your tires. So we'll begin with just bending the knees in a neutral flat back squat, and then extend the knees and lift the heels into a small releve without rolling out the ankles. So we're really looking for you to keep that midline of the body and lower. Now, around the first 3 toes, if you were to draw a line directly up to the pelvis, we're looking at the obliques here. So that's like your inner corset. They run medial-lateral. So we're thinking about lengthening up when you lift your heels from those obliques. Or if you think about your body like a toothpaste tube, you're going to squeeze the toothpaste out the crown of your head and lower down. Then we work our way inward. So this rubber band can be also used in some of your Pilates mat work. If you're familiar with some of the abdominal mat work, this particular band can be used as fascial connections to help facilitate that movement. If you're doing something like a crisscross with obliques, this can help cue you into your obliques. Then we're going to take the rubber band just around the first 2 toes. So we're going a little bit more narrow now, trying to get to that deepest layer of abdominals called the transversus abdominis. That is what helps stabilize your lumbar spine. So do that same bending and straightening of the knees, and as you straighten the knees, lift the heels slightly. I'm not looking to lock out into a large plantar flexion, but just a small lift, and do that a few times, 5 to 10 times, lifting and lowering. Thinking about that abdominal connection. Then we take it around just the first toe, that first ray of the body. And now we're trying to get even deeper into the pelvic floor. If you're familiar with Kegel exercises, we're trying to get into that pelvic floor when we lift and lower the heels here. So whenever sequencing a program, we always want to do the releases first, and then we work on stabilization and strengthening. So this has been your 2-minute feet. Please join me either at EHS Pilates in San Francisco, or I also have a studio in Yalapa, Mexico, where I hold foot and gait clinics and classes. And there's also more information on the EHS website at ehspilates.com, as well as my Facebook page, Walk with Nancy. Thank you for joining us.